I'm the only white face in this area. You don't belong here. Stop, I'll shoot you in the back.
Unfortunately, I got a little nervous tonight because Copville was in the building, so I'm trying to compose myself.
Welcome to Locked Up with Copville, another episode. This one might be the most viewed. We'll see. There's two guys sitting here that probably all of the world would have never thought would be sitting together, but I have my special guest today, Jason Votrobek.
How are we doing?
How you doing?
I didn't think this one would ever happen.
No,
but, I've been pushing for it for a while.
You have.
I have.
I think we can put a lot of rumors to bed today. A lot of things that people assumed or accused are much different than they appear usually.
I don't think it matters what we say. People are going to still have their way.
That's fine. That's fine. I mean, I don't think anybody trusts either of us, right?
No.
Is that the problem? But two of the most honest people, because there's something to be said about two people who air their laundry, sit down in front of cameras and talk about it, and then everybody who judges them is too scared to say anything, to hide behind fake names, to hide behind garbage, and they would never sit down at this table and talk to me or you.
No. So one thing that I tell everybody all the time, you don't want people to talk about you, just put all your business out there. There's nothing to talk about no more.
Exactly.
None of them confront me. They all talk behind my back. I have to hear through everybody else. But that's fine. I don't really care about that. My whole thing of it is getting the truth out there. I feel like if you're not the one that's talking and you're hiding behind something, then you got something to hide.
Yeah. So let's, I don't even think people understand how we even met or where we started. We actually didn't meet for many, many years. I knew of you, and I'll start it out by, I remember you moved into my sister's house as a roommate. I had never heard of you, didn't know who you were. And I don't know if you believe me or not, but I'm telling you the truth. I'm not gonna lie to you today. I didn't know.
I don't believe a word he says.
Okay. I didn't know who you were. And I remember beeping and waving my sister, went by. Years later, when somebody said, did you know Jason Votrobek lived with your sister? I'm like, no. And then I went back in my head and do you remember? I'm sure you remember the day.
Yes. I do.
Okay. So how did you, I mean, you end up you were friends with my sister or?
Yes. I've been friends with your sister through somebody of Steve Medici.
Okay.
I was real close to Steve, which
I know him
for a long time. He's
yeah.
a funny dude. So I went through a period of, I needed a place to stay, and I was waiting for a place to open. Your sister was like, well, you can just rent a room for me. So I was like, okay. So I rented a room for her for a couple months. It wasn't very long.
Okay.
And I was nervous as hell the whole time. I was so nervous. And I really wasn't in the game really at that point. I was doing small stuff, but it wasn't anything I needed to be worried about.
And I what year do you think that was? That had to
when
be
the hurricanes hit all.
So 04, 05.
Yeah.
So maybe I was still a city cop then because I didn't leave for the
city.
Okay. So I was a moron at that point. No drug experience, no real experience in anything. Street cop. And I didn't really get into the drug game on my end until I went to the sheriff's office 2004 December. And then I got in the dope unit in 06. But I know, I don't know if you believe me or not, but I've told you this. I focused on crack dealers. If you look at any of my history of narcotics and all my investigations were crack dealers. You seem to think otherwise, and I think it's funny. I want you to tell the story about what you thought I was and how worried about me you were.
So one thing that I learned getting into the drug game, I needed to know who was all on the task force. I wanted to know who, AKA my enemy was. So what I did was I started figuring out who everybody was. I wanted to know their names, their faces, and everything else. And the only person that stood out and the name kept getting brought to me is you. And everybody kept saying, Mike, Dilks is that motherfucker you need to worry about. He's that dude. He's the dude that's jumping in people's, faces, taking everybody down. He's investigating everybody. The rest of them wasn't so hungry. And so the whole time I'm thinking like, okay, I need to focus on Mike. And the more I started researching about you and getting people, I would literally pay girls because you're always out all the time at the bars, everything else. And so I was paying these girls to hang around you. to get you drunk,
Mhm.
try to date you, try to corrupt you, try to do everything they could to get information out of you. And I couldn't get nothing. But all I kept hearing is Mike talking about you. Mike's talking about you. Mike's watching you. Mike knows what you're up to. Mike this. And I'm like, what in the world? And it's so funny. I've literally forgot about everybody else's names on the force besides yours. You're the only one that I zeroed in on, and I let everybody else go on my budget of trying to figure out what you had on.
And like I said, I think it's funny for me to hear that because I was very aggressive. Back then I wasn't in good shape. I took the job serious, but I drank a lot back then. But and I can tell you, my focus was street level crack dealers. And if you go back and look at my history, I can show you in the Department of Corrections, every dude I put away for life. All of them are cocaine dealers, crack dealers.
The boys in the hood, I supplied a lot of dudes in the
Well,
hood.
that's where that
and
would
they
come up
all
then.
kept saying Mike Dilks,
Okay,
Mike Dilks,
okay,
Mike Dilks,
okay.
Mike Dilks. So I'm like, okay,
That makes sense because
I need to focus on Mike.
Okay.
And I heard Rodriguez's name a few times and a few other people, but it was always you. And I don't think they had the reputation of like being that bulldog and going after people like you were.
Yeah, and that was what I guess I enjoyed was I associated narcotics at that street level with your burglaries, your car, your grandma's TV's missing, your grandma's car is ransacked, or your lawn equipment's missing. Those crackheads that were going to the hood to buy dope were the reason that all those crimes were armed robberies, all those things are happening. So I'm never going to beat the war on drugs, obviously. And I never thought that big until I got into maybe the first wiretap and then later on the pill mills. I thought very street level. So I was very active in the hood. So that makes more sense that those guys were talking about me, because I still get messages now that I've, not a cop anymore. Hey, you used to chase me around. I've changed my life. Used to be up my ass, like all over me. So that would make sense. But my brain and my skills weren't developed to the level of what you were doing at that time. I think that's a lot of what we're dealing with now, where people just assume and ran their mouth and said things that made them think I was looking into something like you. I was not capable at that point of investigating something as big as you.
Well, the problem of it is here's the issue is, and I don't know how to explain this. I know for a fact all law enforcement knew who I was and what I was doing.
I knew who you were. Correct.
And the reason why I say that is I'm going to tell you an incident. I remember walking into Bono's one day to eat lunch, and Milo was sitting at the table, and he turned around and looked at me and was like, Votrobek, Votrobek, Votrobek. I'm like, how you doing today, Mr. Milo? He says, I'm going to get you. I'm like, for what? He's like, come on, man. Everybody in town knows what you're up to. And I was sitting there just thinking to myself, like, this guy is not on my radar. He's not a detective. And he's calling me out in front of everybody, like putting me on blast. So I'm thinking to myself, this is one or two things. He's tipping me off. But everybody was like, Milo's not going to tip you off. Milo's not that guy. He's letting you know, I'm going to get you. And I'm thinking like, he's not a detective. So now I'm like, now I got to start finding out Milo. And Milo was easy because Milo was in the scene and doing everything else too, but he wasn't a detective. So I was like, why do I need to worry about Milo? And I didn't really have to. I focused on him a little bit, but after sending a few girls in on him and talking to him, he was across the board into all kinds of stuff. He was more into like, I think he was on the murders or not suicides, but murders at the time or whatever. He was on that investigation. So I was like, well, some of my cop friends are like, you don't got to worry about him. He's just letting you know, like, slip up and he's going to bust your head.
Yeah. And that's something that I would do. I used to tap my watch. I would pull up in the corner of the hood and I'd hit the watch and I'd be like, time's almost up, and I would drive away. And I knew probably already had a sale charge on them, and I was just waiting for one more, and then we'd do a search warrant. So I would kind of I was a little cocky back then, and I would hit and Milo's he's got a personality, so he's probably letting you know he knew who you were. He definitely wasn't tipping you off. Milo would not do that
in front of everybody. I mean,
I think he worked here's where it may be I think he worked Echo Crimes for a while, so he might have been looking at your books. I don't know that to be true, but the only thing I can think of, maybe he was economics and he's like checking out that anybody. But I can tell you, until your boat incident, I had no real clue what you were up to. And that's kind of like, like a co-host in the show. He goes his way, I go my way. I've heard your name, but I was focused on this side of my career, and other guys were focused on you, I guess. I really didn't
did you not, when y'all hit my boat, I was done and over with. Okay. So that's what I don't understand. I was supplying 5 to 10 kilos a week to Fort Pierce, Vero, Palm Bay, and Melbourne. Like, I was literally moving that much dope on back then. And it's like, how did you not? When all the other cops knew about me, to the point, there's two things that I spent quite a bit of money on, and it was surveillance and cops paying them off. And I'll never forget my first paid cop. And it didn't come from him telling me. He sent somebody, and I can't say this for a fact that he sent, but the person came to me and was like, hey, listen, such and such said this about you. And I'm like, really? I'm like, here's $500. Make sure he gets that. And
do you know that he ever got it?
He had to, because then the information kept coming and the money kept flowing. So it was like because I'm paying somebody else that's not a cop to give to him. So did he give all of it? I don't know. I didn't care. All I know is that I paid him, and I'm pretty sure that he got it. And next thing you know, I'm getting more information. Well, apparently he had loose lips, because now all of a sudden he must have been telling his buddies like what's going on, because now all of a sudden I'm getting other people approaching me. And so then I'm paying them, and it's just like, it doesn't stop. But here becomes the problem, though, is that I felt like at some time, some of them were feeding me bullshit. And the reason why was just to get the money to keep it going.
Of course.
You know, like, oh, just tell them this and this and this and that. And like you were saying, I feel like a lot of it, they would just say stuff, be like, oh, Mike, because Mike's the one jumping in people's windows, and he's the one chasing people down. He's like the main guy on the task force right now, making a name for himself. So everybody knows your name. So it's like, well, let's just put it on Mike. That's how I felt after the fact that I've went back. But I had a lot of law enforcement. I've never, besides one person, paid them actually in cash. It was always somebody else. It's like Coast Guard. I had somebody in Coast Guard and was like, hey, one of my good buddies is, you know, a Coast Guard person. And, you know, he's always talking about this and this and that. And I'm like, well, really? Well, can you find out some more information for me? He's like, yeah, I can get it. And he came to me. So I paid him like probably, I don't know, $1,000, $2,000 every time that depending on the information, depending on how much cash I give him. Well, it ended up, he must have been talking, because I ended up having 2 Coast Guard people on payroll. And I always made sure that I paid somebody else, so it was never directly paid to them. I've only paid one cop that way.
And you know, and all the shit people talk about me, and you know, it's, as I've gotten older, I guess I care less. I used to really care what people think, but there was time during that time, I was running out of gas on the side of the road. I was so broke and living so bad. At that point, I was paying child support. I was living so broke. And for people to suggest that I was being paid or being, you know, doing all that stuff, it's just, I can remember I was driving a Ford Excursion White. You probably know it.
Yeah, no, I knew all this. I knew all your financial problems. I knew everything, because I had somebody getting information from your ex. I knew the amount of money you were paying in child support. I had somebody close to her. I was paying them for information from your ex-wife to know what was going on.
Ex-girlfriend.
Well,
probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
The one you had all the kids with.
Oh, that's my wife. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. I had somebody close to her, paying them to get information from her to find out every dirt, anything I could find out about you, what you told her, what was going on. When I tell you, to this day, I try not to do it no more. I don't pay nobody no more. But the problem of it is when you get in that circle of information, your phone doesn't stop ringing. Yeah. You know that. People want to tell you things just to try to get paid. Not even that, just the fact that they want to feel special, like they're in the circle. Well, and you're somebody. And so what I was successful with informants to talk about the cop side of that, where we paid informants, was I would intentionally make up stuff to tell informants to see if they were going to tell me the truth. So simple things like, if I wanted to know, I would know a guy's in jail, and I'd walk up to a guy and be like, hey man, do you know where this guy is? He's got a warrant. I'm willing to pay you X amount of oh yeah, I just saw him earlier today. He's down here. All right, man. Yeah, I'll be back. And I know, like, the motherfucker's in jail. Like, so I did the same checks and balances on people to make sure they were giving me accurate information, because CIs would do the same thing. I want to tell you about this guy. I want to tell you about that guy. And it's all bullshit. But I did not, I can tell you the names that came up to your name. They either kept it quiet for a reason, and I don't know who you're paying. So that obviously I'm not going to ask you that, but maybe there's a reason why your name didn't come up in the sheriff's office in certain meetings in certain places. I don't know. See, I was told differently, but here we go again. What they doing for money? See, I didn't pay. Majority of my funds and me paying wasn't to pay to find out what you had on me. I was paying them to keep tabs on certain names in my circle if they got busted. Okay. I wanted to know when somebody got busted, because literally I would find out all the time. I could find out everybody. I would get a list of everybody who got busted with certain drugs or like that from certain people. And I would call people up and be like, hey, dude, one of your dudes just got busted, because I knew that guy dealt with them. Okay. And I say, hey, your guy got busted. No, he didn't. I'm like, I'm telling you, he got busted. I don't see it on nothing. I'm like, I'm telling you, he got busted, dude. And he's like, yeah, but he would never tell on me. 6 months later, he gets busted. He gets out. I said, hey, dude, I said, what happened? He's like, man, I can't fuck him, dude. I can't believe it. He got me. And I'm like, dude, I told you. And he owns a successful air conditioning business now. All his vehicles are wrapped, everything else.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Busted time after time for grow houses and everything else. I mean, I had grow
He's
houses.
one of the guys that told me I was getting indicted.
Really?
He's running his mouth.
And he
I see him in the gym all the time.
Yeah, he runs his mouth. So
I know who he is.
So he was a rat. He cooperated on a bunch of people. He dropped my name. So that's why I don't understand, because my source told me that, actually 2 sources that don't even know that I deal with each other. I don't think they do. Told me he was throwing my name all around in the sheriff's department.
He could have been, but you got to remember, I was in meetings and sometimes people were asked to leave meetings and there was other meetings and there was just stuff going on in those, like we talked about our buddy Zach, like where I was made to talk about things in front of somebody that got right back to him. So there, I know from a higher level of, now that I'm not as naive as I was back then, there were puppet masters within the sheriff's office that were pulling strings and making sure certain people heard certain things and certain people didn't. So the level of what could have been going on, because again, you're telling me you're paying X, Y, Z amount of cops. I don't know anything about that. And without knowing who, and I'm never going to ask you who, but
I don't give them up.
I know you wouldn't. I get it. And but knowing that, you know, that at least one guy's on the payroll, the whole place is fucking cooked. And that guy can pull strings and puppet strings and lead investigation. Like you just said before we rolled, why do these people stop investigating certain crimes? Like they're on the track of a good, great case. And it goes, okay, we're going to stop right here. Like, why would we stop right here? Why don't we keep going?
Well,
it happens a lot.
So I'm okay. So let's take this back a notch. So I got into the game because of money. Okay. I needed to make money. Then it went from money to lifestyle. Like, it was fun. You're invited to all the parties. You're in the loop. You get all the gossip. It's an addiction. It's like having a needle in your arm.
Okay.
It's so exciting. And then it turns into a thrill afterwards, like pulling it off, being able to do it, to grow, get bigger connects. It's an excitement like you never felt before to be able to do it. And it's like beating the cops. So I didn't have a problem with the cops. I didn't hate them. This day,
smart.
my girl will tell you, I go out, they shake my hands. They all talk to me. They all gave me information. To this day, they still, say stuff to me. It was cat and mouse. It wasn't like I hate them or like that. That was their job. I respected them. As long as you played fair, that's all I wanted. Is now, if you set me up, now we have problems.
But okay, so answer this for me. You're paying cops that are crooked. So how does that not, like, you know that these guys are crooked, but then you want them to play fair and square with you? How does that work?
Can I tell you something? Every cop I know drinks and drives.
Yeah.
They all speed.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So,
okay.
So you're right off
on
the rip,
some level. Okay.
So
yeah. I get you're right.
But hear me out though. Just because you're giving me information on certain things, I don't look at you. I don't look at cops and say they're angels. I don't say, okay, he's a cop. He's the best guy. He's a God-fearing guy. Never breaks the law. I look at him saying the only difference between me and him is that he took a job to get away with it and I didn't.
Okay.
That's how I look at cops. I look at cops as in cops that, I don't care if you bend the rules a little bit to bust me, but planning drugs on people,
that's wrong.
And doing other stuff when you can't get them. Now that's where I have a problem with cops.
I agree.
But to sit there and say like, doing something small to get you, like, doing some dumb stuff. I get it, because we break every rule to get away from you.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't follow no rules. Criminals, we're doing everything we can to cheat you. I'm going to be honest with you. If you follow the rules, good criminals, you can't bust us. You literally have to bend them and do certain things, because y'all's way of getting wiretaps is absolutely the most biggest joke I've ever seen, but every judge signs off on it.
I know.
Because when you get a wiretap, a lot of people don't understand, there's 2 statutes. Okay. It's too violent because they're a gang, and it's too violent to put a deputy inside.
Mm-hmm.
You might get knocked off, or you exhausted all other means. They will literally put 2 things down like they exhausted. And I'm like, bro. Dude,
yeah, we tried pulling the trash and we tried following them and we lost them.
Yeah, we lost them. So it's like, oh, we tried 2 things and we exhausted everything. And it's like, dude, you did 2 things.
Yeah, that's a very liberal leeway for investigation.
And everybody knows a phone tap is the easiest way to bust somebody. Okay. It's it. Because in a conspiracy, all you have to do is be like, oh, 3:30 every day, he said, go pick up the baby. That's code word to go pick up kilos. No, for real. I was going to a daycare. It doesn't matter. It's conspiracy. It's a thought crime. you take everything out of content. I tell everybody all the time, conspiracy is a movie script. It's whoever tells the best movie script to get the movie.
Well, in the feds, it's even easier because there's no discovery, no depositions, and all that.
No
The state system, you still have to go through the depots and go through it. But in the fed system, and I never worked a fed wire, all mine were state. But even then, it's there's a lot of leeway in those affidavits for fluff. You're not lying, but you're just like there's fluff. There's
just like on my TikTok and other stuff. Okay, so I learned every 2 weeks you have to go back in front of a court to renew your wiretap.
Sometimes it's a month. In the state, it's a month.
Okay,
I don't know what
I think that's
okay. Ours is every 30 days we had to go meet.
So no, you're right. It's every 30 days. But here's the thing: so my good source, high-end cartel stuff, told me change your phone every 2 weeks. And the reason why you do it every 2 weeks is because we don't know when your 30 days starts. So if I do it every 2 weeks, change all the phones.
That's a pain in the dick.
It's time you get a new source, get in front of a judge. I've already switched it again. I'm switching it faster than you can get it.
When's the last time you looked at that? Because now I was wondering how that works. I'm not involved in it anymore. Do they just go after the device now, like the IMEI? Does it matter what app you're using? That was the old days. Because I remember.
But I'm changing new phone and everything.
Okay, you're changing the phone. It's different. Okay. You're throwing the phone away.
I'm going to literally Walmart, and I don't buy it with a card. I'm paying everything through cash.
Yeah.
So I literally will send somebody in to pay.
Yeah.
So I pay somebody to do. I don't do it myself, and the reason why is because I don't want to be on camera.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sending it in. And another reason why I like to change my phone every 2 weeks. So if you did get it and you got in it, well, guess what you're going to get out of that thing? Not a damn thing.
Yeah.
2 weeks of what?
Yeah.
You're not getting nothing out of it.
Yeah, it would take, because I remember I had a case where the guy changed his phone the day we flipped a switch. He had 3 phones, and all of a sudden the most active phone is dead. And I'm just looking at it. I'm like, is it working? Like, we're up like 5 hours. I call CI and they're like, no, I changed his number today. And I'm like, so I had to go meet an informant, get a deal done, get the phone dirtied, add that to the affidavit. It took like 24 or 48 hours to get it all redone. So it is a pain. But that was back in the Nokia hold a phone days. Now, you can have a Google number, you can have a WhatsApp number, you can do so many different things with this phone that.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter because from what I understand, as long as they got the IME number,
they
don't care about what app you're using.
That's what I would figure.
And so another thing that a lot of people don't understand is, and I hate this so much, I did a video and it got millions of views on TikTok. They can bust into any phone. I don't give a shit. That California suicide guy, the Sacramento one.
Yep.
They said that, Apple wouldn't do it because they couldn't.
Christopher Dorner.
So then they hire a company, came in and like, listen, they had that phone hacked way before that. The problem is there's constitutional things and all this other avenues they had to go through. Don't think they didn't have a thing hacked within minutes. So they had to jump through the things, make it look good or whatever. I watched them in Atlanta plug my phone in. And they're like, well, that was an iPhone 6. I'm like, yeah, but they didn't have the technology they have now. The technology first, the phones and all the encrypted stuff goes in sync together as every year. Okay. It's like cat and mouse. They do something, we do something. They do something, we do something. So it was equal to what today is first phone encrypting, right? I watched them plug it thing in within 6 minutes. 6 minutes they were in that phone and they were looking at Brooke's messages. She's telling them like, tell them fat pigs to go get donuts and this and that and everything else and choke on one and all this other stuff.
Quick. And you had a pretty decent, I'm sure you had a mega password.
Well, the thing you have to realize is that they have, I'm telling you, it's a little device.
I know what it is.
So it's a device, has a cord, and they plug it in. And a little thing. And I was just sitting there watching from my little window, and I watched them hack that thing. I was like, you got to be shitting me.
Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning. You start trafficking cocaine. What's your income? You start out, you're starting to make the trips. For somebody who's watching, doesn't understand the amount of money and profit and risk. Like, tell us a story or your version of what we were doing.
Majority of people that get into the drug game, get into it, supply their habits. Very few that I've ever met do it strictly for the money.
We must have missed cocaine trafficking career day. You must have been there that day. You weren't sick that day. You watched the career day of cocaine trafficking, and I was like, oh, look, I'm going to be an army guy. So you got into it for money.
Okay, so how it all started for me is in the late 80s. Everybody knows Florida was a big drug trafficking thing back in the 80s. Okay. So if you watch the movie Cocaine Cowboys and everything else, they flew the planes past Miami and Everglades majority of the time and landed at like right at Lakeland from Tampa to Vero because it was the cutoff of fuel. So they always came up like Okeechobee, St. Lucie, or they came in Fort Pierce Inland if they come from Bahamas. So it was huge in every aspect. For some reason, it was like a hub. And so the Tri-Counties was built off of cocaine. Like everybody back in the day, like all my dad's buddies, even my dad was invited to be a drug smuggler, but he came for money, so he didn't care. All his buddies. So as a kid, I watched all these guys leave, but then I go to prison. I would sit around campfires out in the marsh or out in the ranches or whatever. And I remember as a little kid, because you see the adults, they're all sitting there drinking beer, smoking their marbles, and they're around the campfire, and you want to be, so, all the kids are sitting off behind them and sitting there listening to the stories. Cause you look up to all the old men, you know what I'm saying? They're telling all these cowboy stories, drug smuggling, crazy stuff. And I'd never forget listening to the drugs smuggling stories, and it was fascinating to me. And then I liked watching all the movies and everything else, but that's not why I got into it. I literally got into it because a friend of mine got into, or was doing drugs. It was a drought, and there was a hard time getting it. So I knew somebody because of my next door neighbor to my brother's house. He was this Spanish dude, drove a I'll never forget, a single cab truck on 26s. I mean, come on, when you're running around on 26s in a boombox, what that is.
Back
That's just
then,
like writing like drug dealer on me.
Yeah.
You know who the person is real well. So anyways, I asked him, I was like, hey man, what's up, dude? Because we would talk. He'd pull up at his next neighbor's house. He was messing with this girl or doing something. I don't know what was going on. Every time I see him, I just say, what's up? So he tells me, yeah, I got you. So he hooks me up. I give it to my boys, and they're like, where'd you get this from? Like, this shit is fire, dude. Like fire. I'm like, oh no, like give me some more. So I got some more. And so it's like, why am I doing this for free? I'm struggling. I done went to juvenile prison, got out, trying to do the right thing, spent almost 2 years in juvenile prison. And so I get out and I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm making $11 an hour. I'll never forget. Barely making ends meet. I'm paying my rent with my brother and all this other stuff, but I want to live the lifestyle. I want to have fun. I want to go to the bars. I want to do all the cool stuff. And I couldn't afford to do it. So I started out, I got an 8-ball and I broke it down to 4 grams. I put a little on it, made it 4 grams. So then I made $200. So I took that 200, bought another 8-ball. When I did it, now I had $250 because I had made some extra money. So I had $250. I bought a quarter, and it was just timing, because you got to realize anybody can be a drug dealer, but you got to have the right product, right prices, and timing's got to be everything. And I just happened to have the right product, right prices, and timing because it was a drought, and it blew up overnight. And I tell everybody all the time, once you get to doing that, it's like a needle in your arm. It's like a junkie. When you got that money coming in and it's just flowing and everything's going good, it's a high. You're paying your bills. Everybody's calling you.
Does it work like the movies where you see you look, everybody watches Scarface? You obviously didn't kill anybody that I know of, and I don't think you can tell me if you did. So how do you leapfrog the guy? How does that happen? How do you leapfrog your supplier?
Okay, so I never leapfrogged in any of them, because once you get that reputation in the industry, nobody wants to mess with you.
Okay.
So what happened was, I don't know if you remember, I was blowing up, going for years, selling 5-10 keys a week. Sometimes, on a good week I would, but a lot of people are like, oh, that, blah, blah, but I might go a week or two with no dope, because you know how it is. It's shipments. You were surveillancing people.
Yeah.
He was supposed to come in, it doesn't, or it's not what it's supposed to be, or shipment gets knocked
Somebody
off,
got arrested, you have no idea.
Got arrested, or the shipment is held somewhere because something's hot or something's not right or something didn't go right.
Yeah, it's not like Amazon.
It's not.
Yeah.
So in the drug game, you just don't know when you're going to get it. So get it while you can get it. So I was doing really good. I mean, I was supplying a lot of people. Everything was going good. Remember that family got knocked off on the turnpike?
Mm-hmm.
The husband, wife,
yeah. I think they took the death penalty away from those people.
Yeah, they just took the death penalty away from them. I think the president did, or something.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, they knocked it down.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like that whole thing's a cover up, and they're hiding something really big. Because when I tell you that happened, everything shut down. Like whoever was involved in that was running ungodly amounts of drugs. When I tell you, to the point where it went dry everywhere around here. That's how much drugs they were bringing in. So I was scrambling. I went from pushing 5, 10, 20 keys a month, depending on a good month or whatever. I'm making an average $5,000 a key. You know what I'm saying? Because I'd push some in quarters, halves, the whole brick, whatever. I wouldn't make it much when I pushed the whole brick. I'd make $1,000 or $2,000 off of a whole brick. When I break it down, then you start making a couple thousand. Then I would leave one to break it all the way down. And that's where I'd make my good money. So you got to remember at 19 years old, I'm making $50,000, $70,000 a month. And people were like, well, what'd you do all the money? I'm like, I didn't really spend it back then because I couldn't. Dope money, I couldn't. I wasn't riding around with brand new stuff. I was stocking it. But you got to remember, people are not paying you. I'm having to pay people off. You're spending it in totally different ways. People think selling drugs is easy. It's a full-time job. Sun up, sun down, 7 days a week. I'm having to worry about paying to find out. I'm having to worry about the cops watching me. I have to worry about my users getting busted and telling on me. So I'm having to watch and stress from two different points. And then you have to worry about getting to supplies and get into your customers without them getting mad or not wanting to wait on you to go find another plug. So the point of being a drug dealer, I tell everybody all the time, if you were to take that energy in selling drugs and put it into a legit business, you would kill it. I would be making millions of dollars right now a year if I would have took all that energy and put it into a legit business for how much energy I put in it.
And why do you think you didn't? You just did that rush of, I mean, was it
The
the
lifestyle?
Was it?
Yeah. Owning a business is not near as fun as that. When I tell you, everybody wants to tell you all the information, you're invited everywhere. There's somebody in town, real well, that's mom's probably the biggest lobbyist in town for the Republican Party. And Bush used to come, one of the Bush families, somebody really big. They had Secret Service, that tells you. And I'll never forget, he told me to bring over an 8-ball of cocaine. And there was dudes out there with black suits with things speaking in them. And I kept driving, thinking like, this fucker set me up. I thought they were feds, like, because that's what I knew, feds in the movie.
Yeah.
So I kept driving. And I told my boy, I was like, dude, call him and find out what the fuck is going on. He's like, no, it's good. You don't have to worry about them. You don't have to worry about them. I'm like, worry about them. Like, I'm not coming back. So he was ballsy enough to go back without it and fill it out. And then he came back, got it, and took it back. But yeah, and then they wanted more. They ended up buying another 8-ball. And so, I mean, this is a big politician. And I've been told through a lot of people, I mean, you'd be surprised who's involved in this stuff and who does it. I'll tell you this. I've sold to so many cops.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. It just surprises me that they get away with it and that the people like me catch all the hell I caught for, I didn't do that.
So I'm not going to mention his name. I seen him yesterday, so he knows who he is. I don't really get along with him all the time because he owes me money. But I will tell you this. He was like, hey, I need to get an 8-ball. I'm like, okay. And he's like, you know who this is going to? And I'm like, no. And he would tell me the cop's name. And I'm like, don't ever fucking call me again. Like, pull your shirt up. Let me see what's going on. And he would party with the cops all the time. And it got to the point where it was just like, I think I need to stay on his good side. Like, I don't want to piss him off, cut him off. Now you tell them boys like whatever. And he's partying with these cops and I see them. And I never confirmed it, like the use, but my right-hand man seen it with his own eyes and did lines with him and said he was nervous the whole time. And I'm just sitting here racking my head. I'm like, these are the people that are supposed to be after me, not just regular cops. We're talking about higher ranker ones.
How long ago? You don't have to, I mean, go crazy. Years ago, 10, 12 years ago?
You got to remember, I got out of the drug game in 2008.
That long ago? Oh, you went into the other business.
I went into the other business. You got to remember, I got hit by the feds in 2011. 2010
I forget it's been that long, man. It's been 20 or 12, 13 years.
Yes.
Holy shit. I forget. I always forget. It seems like yesterday. I'm sure to you. Well, you went to prison, so I must not. Does it seem like yesterday to you?
No.
It was.
It's been a long.
How long were you in?
8 years.
You were sentenced to how many?
15.
Okay.
I got what I did was I got out because of COVID on house arrest. I was on house arrest for 3.5 years, and then Biden gave me a clemency. I got the
so it's been so you got out of cocaine running in 2008.
2008.
But so I that now that doesn't surprise me because I know some of the I could probably if we ever decided to share names, which we probably won't, but I would tell you probably the same names are going to cross our paths.
The old school boys were gangsters. They're all from the 90s.
I know.
All
and they were doing
I've had
lineups with cops in them that were doing XYZ and then that just got destroyed and thrown away.
So another thing is I'll know one of them. You probably know who it is. He got caught. He was saying he was doing it because he was doing it for undercover to bust somebody, had to do it or whatever. But one of the deputies in town, I don't know if they tested him positive because he was hurt or something like that, but he ended up, it was able to like beat it or whatever because he said he was working undercover and he had to do it or something, or got it on him.
I only knew of one person that did that, and that he was a Fed, so he wasn't a local guy. I knew. He didn't work for the locals though.
Well, he lived locally.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Okay, probably the same one. Short, stocky guy.
So I'm just telling you.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I know
Wow.
about just about everything going on, all the gossip.
That's pretty crazy.
I mean, everything that we've talked about off the record, I've been able to tell you locations, and dates, and it's like, how do I know these?
But isn't it funny that we have talked, and you also find out that I've debunked a lot of that stuff or at least about the thing, because the fish grows.
Okay, so we're gonna jump story for a second, and I'm gonna get into this because you got to remember, I was told Mike. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people in town knew that I had a lot of sources, and a lot of people, they didn't know the depth of who was on payroll and how much I was paying. Only a few people probably knew that because I kept it really secret. If I wanted to make it in this business, I didn't need people going around saying I'm paying people.
Yeah.
Okay. So people assumed it and knew because the people I was paying was talking about it a little bit. But the point that I'm making, people would come to me to try to get dirt on you. I had 2 people call me up that was pretty close with. I show up and the FBI's there, and I'm out on federal indictment. Okay. I'm fighting the feds, and I'm pull up and the FBI is there. And I'm like, what the fuck? And they're like, Jason, we need your help. I'm like, we can't talk. So I leave, and they're working a case against you. So they are working with the FBI daily to bring you down. And I'm thinking to myself, then why, if y'all are saying he's so corrupted and so bad, why the fuck do you need me? If y'all are saying this man is so bad and he did so much bad stuff, why ain't y'all busting him yourself?
Interesting. Unlimited resources, unlimited money, violate every 4th Amendment you want.
But hold on. So this guy is so dirty, and I'm working with the feds to get him hung up, but I can't do it. Let's get Jason. So they hit me up and want me to dig up information on you. And I'm like, listen, out of everybody that I have, Mike is the only one that I cannot get no dirt on. I'm like, dude, I've spent so much money and time on females trying to get close, because this time you're single, you're drinking at the bars, you're clowning. I mean, all I hear is I refuse to go to the bars because you're at the bars. So I refuse to show up because every time I hear Mike Dilks is here, and I'm like, I don't need him to see my face.
And here's what I find interesting, because if that's where because there are people that have the power to change things. I am a lowly, drunk, broken man. Dad died in 2010. I lost my dad. My mom goes into like depression, still there. My mom's never remarried. I don't think she's never leaves the house unless it's a family function since 2011. I deal with that, divorce, broke. I am nobody. And it's cool that like people think, oh, this guy was the man. I was when it came to narcotics investigations and law enforcement. But at that point in my life, I am no one. I have no power. I have no intel. I'm out of the circle, out of the loop. I'm just surviving. I'm running out of gas. Like I told you, I'm just a mess. There are people around me, though. That's who I question. They had power. They were connected to the old school guys before your time that were doing it. The contractors in town, the land clearing business guys, the door guys, the chop shop guys. They were connected to those people. And it's almost like I told you, I was very close to Zach when it come to what he was doing and where his money was going. And all of a sudden, somebody drives over to his shop and tells him indirectly exactly about a meeting that I was in. And it wasn't me.
Yeah, but you know what's so funny though is that man has a big metal warehouse. And I'm being told from Zach that you approached this guy and was trying to frame him, set him up like, listen, you're going to get into this grow stuff and you're going to do all this grow stuff. You have a warehouse and we're going to make all this money.
Yeah.
And you're going to take this deal. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, I didn't know what to think because I've heard other stories about you and all this other stuff. So this is when all the FBI stuff's going on. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, this is really interesting because of the whole fact of that. They're saying this about you, but meanwhile, I know that this person's the one that's feeding Zach most of his information. So I'm thinking to myself, like,
but they don't know that.
No, they don't know that.
Exactly.
And
it sounds like they were cooking me, man.
So
I mean, you have an independent opinion. We've never discussed it. This is all live. There's nothing doctored here. You have seen the outside looking in. It's like, what do you see?
I couldn't get nothing on you. I
And
don't.
you had
have
people.
nothing.
You had people as close as they could get.
Yeah, because here's the thing about it. This is where I'll tell you what my thing is. I spent a good amount of money researching you because I was told that I had to worry about you. Okay. At the end of the day, out of all the money that I spent, come to find out, the local law enforcement really knew nothing about me. They knew I was doing something on a small level and they would tell me, but none of them knew that I was doing on the level that
you guys were in a protected class. And I'm going to say, and I don't say this in a racial way, but they were focused on black crack dealers. And I believe rich white dudes in Vero Beach, which that's what that town is full of, corrupt old rich men, white men. I know people got on planes with rich white people, black people, and those cases were squashed before it made it to the rich white people.
So
they would stop it at that level. And these people you're talking about are all at that high end level. They're probably dead now or close to dead, the older ones, but they were business owners that I believe were involved in everything that you were doing, not with you, but they were doing the same thing, and everything ended before it got to that level.
Okay, so let's get on the subject of Gomez. So
I don't know anything about him.
Jeff Gomez. Here's the funny thing about it. There's an article.
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, he was doing this and then that. So I get a lot of phone calls from people in town. Like, Jason, is this true? I'm like, well, I can promise you, if any drugs are coming in this town on a big level, I would know about it. I knew all the big boys in Gifford. I knew everybody all around. I knew who it was because if I didn't know, I would call somebody and make a call. Okay. And what's so funny is that somebody was mad at him and wrote an article and put him in it, just like they did you. I honestly, truly believe Jeff had nothing to do with the drug game. And
I've never
been able to ask you this, but have you ever heard anything about it?
Other than that document, not one person on earth.
See how one person mad is able to write an article and then all of a sudden it runs rampant. And now all of a sudden to this day is like, oh, Jeff made all his money. No, Jeff made all his money because he built that damn lawn business up from nothing and that undercut everybody, stole all the accounts and jacked price up and sold the damn business.
And I know what you're talking about. I don't have any, like I said, that's town knowledge, but to me, it's the same type of fish growing is what did I benefit? Like where you show it to me. You followed me around. They obviously they went through my bank records. Supposedly had my phone tapped. They did all these things.
Have your phone tapped.
Okay. They did all these things. And it's like, what was the reason I would have done? Like, where did I benefit?
Listen,
or I know I didn't, but I'm saying, where would you go? That's what he did. That's why he did it right there.
Well, see, so what I was told by all the people in it, that you were dirty, that your whole group, not just you, that the whole squad that y'all's group was on. And I'm going to tell you a story, I'm going to tell you how I learned a lot of my stuff, is that your whole group was corrupted and dirty. So the FBI did wiretap all of y'all. And you know that. You admitted to having.
I know that I've seen transcripts of calls. I've never been told I was intercepted.
So I don't know if you were. So I get a phone call one day. I'm out and about. Brooke calls me, which is my attorney, and says, I need to see you right now. You got to remember, I'm out on indictment. So I'm fighting 2 Fed cases. She calls me in and is like, hey, the FBI called me and they have a wiretap of, they're investigating some dirty cops in town, and there's a wiretap, and it's a certain crew, but she would never tell me too much. And she said that they need to talk to you about your safety right now because you're out on bond, and they're like that. So I was at the point where they were going to pull my bond over this because they were talking about kicking my door in, hog tying me up, and broomsticking my ass till I told them where the money was at. And they wouldn't tell me who it was, but I assumed, I was like, this is motherfucking Mike and them boys, because I'm like, it's all I've ever heard about. So, and then later on, I heard it was Rodriguez. It was you, a couple other people, and it was one of the agents. They wouldn't tell you who, and I don't know, have the facts of it. Had called another agent or two and was talking about, let's hit Jason because we took all of his guns, we took everything he has, he's defenseless, and there's millions of dollars missing. And
this is after the search warrants or before?
This is after the search warrants. It was just months. This is months after y'all hit my place. Months after you hit my place, because that little stunt that you didn't do my house. You did.
I was at
Jesse's.
I was at Jesse's house.
You heard what they did to my house.
I did not.
They piled everything up in my bed like a big pyramid. And I had this big dildo that I used to play pranks on everybody. It was about this big, okay? And I had this thing, and it was so big, and I wanted to pay girls $100 to $200 an inch to take it and watch them take it, right? So we were tons of money. We took it to strip clubs, all kinds of stuff. this thing ended up getting a name, and it was like a legendary in town, and we just dumb stuff with the thing because it was so big. It was funny. They took this thing and they put it like a Christmas tree ornament in the top. So they piled everything up in the whole house.
All your clothes and all your shit.
Yes,
Yeah.
they put it in there with this thing sticking out the top of it like this. And the certain things they did at my house. But here's the question I have to you. I had custom furniture made. See, this is where things get crazy in my whole case. They didn't hide the same cops that are supposedly dirty and everything else. They didn't hide one penny. Every penny they've ever found on my case and everything was accounted for. I had custom furniture made for my house with hidden compartments everywhere. Okay. And that person's the only person knew. And they were involved in another drug thing that I had going on. It was worth millions. And he wasn't, his family members were. And I know he was not cooperating, no, nothing else. Law enforcement, the DEA, when they hit my house, they located every one of them spots and didn't tear up nothing else in my house besides those spots. How would they have been able to find that?
Somebody was on the inside. Obviously, I was assigned to, I was with Scott Miller assigned to Jesse's house. I went out there. I had no.
Why did they never hit his house? Why did they hit his mom's?
I don't know. But I have the agent's name.
He was able to drive past.
I heard money buried in the yard and all kinds of stuff. I've heard all the rumors. You got to remember, at that point, and I don't know where that falls into my investigation at that point because I'm out of the drug.
Why did they out of the drug on our case?
That's what I'm saying. If I'm so crooked, why would they do that? Why would they collude your case if I'm going to get in trouble? I don't know. I got removed in 2012. If you look at the pill mill takedown, if you go back and Google the Vero Beach pill mill takedown, you'll see Chief David Curry standing and you'll see me putting one of the doctors in the back. I got tan BDUs and I'm fat as shit. I got a gray shirt on. I was assigned in the middle of that case. I was moved from narcotics to sex offender detail. But during your case, I don't know if that's before or after. I was assigned by an agent to go to his. We had no involvement in that. We were assisting. We took the money, we went back, and then I remember I had to take the money with Scott Miller. We made an appointment with the bank, and all your guys' money combined, we had to sit at 58th and 60 at the, whatever that bank is there, Wells Fargo, and count it all with a fucking lady and go through it. It took hours, but why would they include me in that? That's what I'm saying. Like all that conspiracy that I did this, that, and the other, and I was involved. It's like, why would they risk including me in those cases?
Because I was told when I went to trial that you were one of the main guys that they contacted to be the multitask agent.
They did, but they don't tell you anything. So what I was involved in was I was assigned to take Zach's truck when he traded the Porsche for the Yukon.
So which one did y'all take his Maserati wrapped around the telephone pole?
I got it called that it happened, and we did. Yeah, I was in charge of that.
You know the story behind that, right?
He was drunk. He crashed. I don't know the rest of it.
You know, I picked him up.
I didn't.
I drove past y'all while you were there, and he kept telling me, "Slow down, slow down, slow down. Don't hit your brakes. Just coast, coast."
So
and he ran out. And
I got the information. I got the information where it was at because I had
saw blood. He's like, "Come get me." He's like, "I'm like, what?"
So
you know what he told me to do? Let's go to the beer store before it closes. I got to get more beer. Get back to the party.
So I was in charge of getting it towed out of the tow yard. I knew it happened. I got a call the night right after it happened. So I was in that, and then I was asked to go seize his Yukon and the money. So when he showed up, traded the Porsche, and he was waiting, we handed him a seizure form and said, that's our check. There's your seizure form. That's our truck. And we drove the truck off the lot. That was the entirety of what I was told. I had no knowledge of why, what, when, no grasp on how big the case was. And now, like when you bring up like controlled meets that obviously happened with Steve and those, now I remember at the time, bro, I was such a drunk and so fucking down that I wasn't doing anything. So it didn't cross my mind.
I'm going to say this because I need to clear this up. I gave you those recordings after you got fired or you quit, whatever it was.
Yes.
Resigned. Okay.
Yes.
So I've had those recordings since I went to trial. Year before I went to trial.
2000
okay.
What? So what year was that?
2013. I went to trial in Florida.
Okay.
And I was found not guilty in the feds. So you have to realize one thing is I knew from a long time ago you were getting framed, but I could never tell you because you were a cop. I could not.
I'm glad you said that.
Waited.
I'm glad you said that.
I waited until, as soon as I found out, I got a phone call that you were no longer. I said, do what?
Yeah.
I hit you.
And then
up
we
on
ran into, we
Messenger.
walked in the gym and I ran into you in the
I
gym.
hit you a
Yeah,
messenger
you
and
did.
I was like, I
Well,
got something that you want
I
to see.
was like, man, I don't trust this motherfucker. Like it was a weird, even leading up to this, we talked about it a while. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't comfortable yet because it's like, you just don't trust anybody. And I do trust you. I'm not worried about it because obviously you could, if you had anything on me, here it is. The camera's right there. So what I'm saying is I was worried, but it's crazy to me. And as a cops watching this, who think, oh, I'm talking to a criminal. It's crazy to me that the person that knows I didn't do anything wrong is the criminal.
Yeah.
And the guys that I worked with that either set me up or were doing crazy shit, let me.
I don't lie
go
about
down
being
that-
a criminal. I've been one since I was young. It's just you choose to be a cop. I choose to be a criminal. I'm not a rob. I don't rob people. I don't steal. I like making money.
Yeah.
My addiction is making money.
But you were in a position, and it's funny, you were in the same position as Zach, and Zach lied about me.
Yes, because I know who he was getting all the information from. So when the indictments came down and he paid, he said that he got the indictment's coming from you, and it wasn't. It was from somebody else. And I know that for a fact. And I don't know. I have no clue why you are the punch bug. I don't understand why everybody's wanting to punch on you and what it was about. And when I got them phone calls and I heard that stuff, and I was just like, you got to be fucking shitting me. Like, I wanted to give it to you back then, because at the end of the day, you got to remember, I break the law. Your job is to catch me. Okay. I can't get mad because you're a cop. You choose to be a cop to catch people like me that break the law, because at the end of the day, we can't live without law enforcement. We can't. My mom, my grandma needs it, and everybody else. What I choose to do is on me. That's why I go to trial. That's why I don't snitch on people. Because if you catch me with my hand in a cookie jar, I'm going to take a plea deal, but I'm not going to take a plea deal on myself.
Mhm.
But if you don't catch my hand in a cookie jar, we're going to trial. I always go to trial. And you know that. I went to trial on 2 life sentences.
Yeah.
And I beat the one, lost the other one. They asked for life. And luckily the judge spared me because my case is very political. Sally Yates was my prosecutor. She got promoted to Washington, D.C. And what she ended up becoming? Acting attorney general. Trump fired her when I was in prison, and I was the happiest man ever. I wanted to send her a letter and say, how did that work out so well for you? Because she got a ride to D.C. on my back to put me away. Brian Steele was my attorney. That shows you how big of my case was. Acting attorney general. Brian Steele, which is P. Diddy's and Young Thug's attorney. Like, I had the biggest, baddest law teams there is. And still this day, Brooke Butler's the baddest bitch around. I don't care what anybody says. She's that bad because y'all can't.
I liked her. She said some nasty shit about me that I didn't appreciate, which was false, but that's fine.
But she's gonna do what she gotta do, put food on her table.
That's
fine.
How
I look at it.
But I wouldn't lie about anybody.
No, I don't know.
I don't care about anything. I don't care about anything else that they came after me. Was the one that hurt was, I'll tell you what it was, and I've told you this. I had a guy, when you're working in informants, just like you're dealing with criminals, you got to test people. I had a guy get popped. I didn't know much about him. I documented him, and he's like, "Oh, I got a lady selling massive amounts of pills, blah, blah, blah." So you take it for what it's worth. He's like, "I can buy from her." He does. I wire him up. He goes and buys. It was in Mechanics Park over by the tax collector's office right there in the city. And he goes over, does a deal, and he buys a whole fucking bottle of like 350 fucking cheap ass Lortab, like, headache medicine. But because of the weight, they weigh like fucking 80 grams. So it's fucking 25 min, man. I get the case. Come to find out, maybe I didn't do my research as great on her. She's just a fucking working mom struggling. She's not a drug dealer. And this dude knew he could talk her into selling the pills. He must have went by my back, told her I need to buy this, set it all up on his own, and then I wire him up, and I can't control what an informant does. She's looking at 25 fucking min, man.
Yeah, but if you stick up for her, you're fucking.
I did.
Fucking her.
No, but I did stick up for her, and I remember Bobby got with her attorney, and I went to court, and I said, "This woman," I was in tears.
I heard about it.
I said, "This woman does not belong in prison." I think she ended up getting 3.
We all thought you were banging her.
No way. I couldn't even tell you. Yeah, I get it.
That's how
that's how the streets talk. But that was that. If anything, and I'm not here to make anybody like me any better. If that says anything about my character at all, I knew that was wrong. I couldn't just drop it. I told the state, just fucking dump it. Like, this lady doesn't deserve this. I didn't find that out till after. And where I bring Brooke into this was after I left court for that hearing last January, she used that example to say I was a piece of shit. And I was told by the statewide prosecutor, she stood up, said XYZ. I consider her a very close friend. We used to hang out back in the day. I just don't. I get it's her job, but that's like that. I can't go in court and lie. I can't go in court and lie. So that upset me.
That case that's going on in Vero, there's a lot of corruption in it. I don't know the full facts of it all.
It's done now.
It's done, but maybe. But the point that I'm getting at, that case went on for over 10 years after them getting arrested.
Longer, 13.
13 years. There's got to be a point that the plug's got to be pulled, and you're trying to send a doctor that didn't have much evidence and all these other things.
I agree.
They're overcharging on this stuff. So let's get back into the whole thing of this thing. It's like they find cocaine in the White House. We don't do nothing about it.
No.
But we're going to charge this mom, and we're going to give her 25 years.
I have a huge problem with the state attorney's office.
So
yep.
It goes back to you asking me, like, well, how's a cop you paying is dirty and whatever? No, it's not. It's not. Listen, the only difference between me and you is I got caught and you haven't got caught for what you've done.
Yeah.
All your drinking and driving, you meant it on, everything else. So how can I judge you and you judge me?
You're right. And I guess it goes into the level. I guess my only argument back to that is the level of what the crime is. Like, is DUI right? No, because I could drive down the road, hit a family head. Correct. So you're right. And you're right. I mean, I would bet more than half of the United States drives drunk on a normal, regular basis. I don't drink. Here's the other problem. If we're going to dive into that real quick before we end, it's a sympathetic crime. You get arrested for DUI, you don't kill anybody, and everybody goes, he's just DUI, and they plea it down to reckless. It is, but it's one of those things where people don't care, especially if it happens to them. It's not a big deal, but society kind of minimizes DUI. One of my only losses in trial, I lost a Fed case for possession with intent one time. Guy said he rented the car and the dope was in the console and the jury bought it in Fed court because there is no possession in Fed court. It's only with intent. I lost that. And I lost a fucking DUI. And the lady blew over the legal limit, 0.112. And the jury was like, well, she doesn't look that bad on video. And they found, I'm like, fuck DUI. Like, I'm like, she's guilty. She blew. So it's one of those sympathetic crimes. But from your standpoint, I agree. What's good for the goose is what's good for the gander. If you guys are drinking and driving, partying, driving the department car, partying, doing this,
listen,
what's the difference?
A kid growing up in this town in Vero Beach, it was a small town. You got caught doing something. All the cops knew, our families knew everything. You know what they used to tell me back in the day? I will never forget 4th Street and US 1. Okay. I ripped a donut. I want to impress this girl. I ripped 16 years old, ripped a donut in the intersection like 12:30 at night. Because back then there was no cars on the road.
Woolworth, right? Walmart, Woolworth, what was right there? Walmart
right there on the corner where Velde Ford is.
Yeah.
Now. So Mullinex or whatever now. But the point what I'm getting at is that it was such a small town, you got away with anything. They were like, he told me, if I catch you east of 58 tonight, after tonight, I promise you I'm going to arrest you.
Yeah.
And then he calls my parents and tells them, and then I got punished. They knew that I get punished more by my parents than them doing something.
But let me spin it. If they had that much leeway to allow that kind of stuff to go on, what else could they have been letting go on at the high level?
Let stuff go on.
Now, I don't think it's as involved as back then, but I believe there were guys that were moving stuff. I believe that's why.
But the cops, I mean, look what happened back in the 80s. The cops were unloading the planes. I mean, it's okay. The level of corruption is harder to get away with in the sheriff's department today than I think it was back in the day. It was so much easier back then. You agree with me?
Yes.
You cannot get away with the level of corruption anymore. It just doesn't happen on that level. I learned everything, how to surveillance y'all, to do everything through an ex-DEA agent. He was a black man out of Melbourne. Okay. He taught me everything. He was worth a lot of money and he was a DEA agent. Because when y'all join y'all's little jump out boy crew, y'all become brothers. You train together, all kinds of stuff. Not all of them, but a lot of the crews become brothers.
Yeah. I think more so back then.
This is back then.
Yeah.
He was a DEA agent in the 90s.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
They had a crew.
They had crews and they were brothers, he said.
Yeah.
He says, Jason, he goes, how do you think I'm so rich? I said, I don't fucking know. He says, I'd only target people that I knew that had money worth busting. He says, because let me explain something to you. He says, when I'd bust somebody, I'd surveillance them. And if they didn't have a lot of cash or doing big things, I'd leave them the fuck alone and let them get big. He says, I only busted people who had a lot of money. He goes, when we busted them, we would take a Rolex, we'd take this, we'd take that. We'd only turn in maybe half. Okay. He says, we're brothers. He says, for that half and he shut his mouth, we'd make sure a percentage of the dope would come up missing too. And you got to remember, you get charged with dope and the amount of money you get caught in the feds. So it gives you more time.
Yeah.
So he's like, we would knock down his money amount so he get less time. And, you know, it all depends on how things go. Some dope might, whatever. And he's like, and that was a way that, because we were getting paid shit back then. He's like, we didn't get paid nothing. We were putting our life on the line, all this stuff. I'm like, are you fucking serious? Everybody's making money besides us when we're doing the grunt work. He said, so we would hit licks and make $100,000-$200,000. We would make money.
And
And that's what we were doing. We split it up. And he says, and that's what we did. We kept it all hidden. We had a brotherhood and we stuck together, and that's how we made it. And he would teach me how that shit, like how to beat the feds, how to do stuff, how to be smarter at my game. And you know, the thing crazy about, I was mad when I was introduced to him, because one of my buddies introduced me to him, and I looked at him and I didn't say, and I just gave him a look. And when later I said, don't you ever do that to me ever again. He says, Jason, it's gonna be the best thing that ever happened to you.
So he's like giving you the nod, like this is good, and it helped you.
Yes, it helped me. So he's the one that taught me, like, we'll, you know, get into on a whole nother one about how I would find out if I was surveillance.
Yeah, I want to end it there. I appreciate you coming on, and I think I'd like to continue the conversation. Obviously, is going to be a big hit home, and we have a lot more to talk about that we've talked off the record. We have a lot more inner workings of my case, and who was doing what, and who was talking, and who was fabricating. And I know you're still doing some research on some of those people, because you're a very good investigator, and you are. And it's people, if anybody says, oh, you had a criminal on, well, you don't get into drug organizations by walking up and knocking on their front door. You have to have informants. Same for what I say is you are bringing awareness by talking to me for cops to know what's going on.
How does feds find their best hacking people?
Yeah, the people they catch.
They catch.
Yeah.
So they offer them jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
okay. So a lot of people that are big in the organizations, the feds bring them on for as consultants and everything else to work for them. So you got to remember, a hacker I was in federal prison was like, you know how I got a job for the FBI? He says I hacked one of their things for my job application. And that's what he did.
Yeah, and they come down, kind of like Wolf of Wall Street stuff. So you want to plug your social media and stuff and tell everybody how to find you?
Yeah, I'm at on TikTok and Instagram, 8UpJ. Just put in Jason Votrobek or 8UpJ and you'll find me on both of them.
And podcast, you run a podcast?
Yeah, 10 Toes Podcast. You can check it out.
Okay, so that's it for now. Vero and everybody watching, we'll be back with episode 2 to kind of take some of the stuff we talked about and dig a little deeper, but that's all you get for now. So we appreciate it.
Patch on my arm right here? What's that say? It says they're not fucking around crew. That's what that says.